Welcome back to the AI Guy podcast, the twice-weekly AI for Business show where we cut the hype and hand you the playbook. I'm your host, and sitting across the virtual table, as always, is Alex.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex, and yes, as usual, this entire episode is fully AI produced. AI research, AI writing, AI voices. We're the robots telling you how to use robots.
Today is our News Roundup episode, which means we're walking through the biggest AI developments from the past couple of weeks that actually matter for business operators. Not theoretical stuff, not someday maybe stuff. The stuff that changes how you run your company in the next 30 to 90 days.
And quick reminder before we dive in, if you want a free AI report tailored to your specific industry, head to ai.advalorum.io. And if you want a free one-on-one consultation with Val Kleiman and the Ad Valorem team, book at tidycal.com/advalorum/AI-guy. Now let's get into it.
All right, story number one, and it's a big one. OpenAI just closed a $110 billion funding round at an $840 billion valuation. That is the largest private financing in history, led by Amazon at $50 billion, NVIDIA at $30 billion, and SoftBank at $30 billion.
Those numbers are so large, they stop sounding real. $840 billion for a private company. That's bigger than the GDP of most countries.
Right, and here's the part that's actually interesting for SMBs. OpenAI is also projecting $2.5 billion in advertising revenue this year, scaling to $100 billion annually by 2030. Their early ad pilot generated $100 million in annualized revenue within just 2 months.
Wait, so OpenAI is becoming an ad company? That changes the calculus for small businesses using ChatGPT.
It changes it significantly. If your customers are using ChatGPT to search for products and services, and now there are sponsored results inside that experience, then ChatGPT becomes an advertising channel. Think about what Google Ads did for small business discovery 20 years ago. We could be looking at the same kind of shift, but inside a conversational AI interface.
So the practical move for business owners right now is pay attention to how OpenAI rolls out its ad products. If you're spending on Google Ads or Meta Ads today, keep an eye on whether ChatGPT ads offer better cost per acquisition for your vertical. First movers on new ad platforms usually get cheaper clicks.
Exactly. And meanwhile, Anthropic's revenue jumped from $14 billion to $19 billion in just weeks. Total disclosed venture funding in AI this quarter exceeded $50 billion. The amount of capital flooding into this space is unprecedented.
Which means the tools you use are going to get dramatically better, dramatically faster. The competition for your subscription dollar has never been more intense.
Story number two, the AI agent arms race is officially on. According to Marketing Prof's April update, there's been a surge of activity around autonomous AI agents that can execute real-world tasks, sending emails, modifying files, interacting with live systems. Companies like Anthropic, NVIDIA, Perplexity, and Snowflake are all racing to make these agents more secure and enterprise-ready.
And this connects directly to what Microsoft is doing with Copilot Cowork inside Microsoft 365. Instead of babysitting a chat window, you describe the outcome you want, like prepare the monthly budget review, and the agent handles the multi-step work across Outlook, Excel, Teams, and SharePoint.
The key word there is multi-step. This isn't draft me an email. This is plan the project, pull the data, create the deliverable, and send it to the right people. It's delegation, not just generation. And Microsoft is rolling it out through their Frontier program first, so enterprises get it early. But the direction is crystal clear.
For small business owners, here's what to do right now. Map out 2 or 3 recurring workflows that already live inside Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. Think weekly pipeline reviews, invoice follow-ups, vendor onboarding checklists. The more your work already happens in email, docs, and spreadsheets, the more ready you are for agents.
And please, write down what done means for each workflow. Agents are great at executing steps. Humans have to define success criteria. If you can't explain what a good outcome looks like, the agent definitely can't figure it out for you.
Related to this, Microsoft is also rolling out a multi-model research capability. One model drafts, another model reviews, like having a junior analyst and a slightly grumpy editor in the same room.
You can mimic this today even without Microsoft's tooling. Run your first pass in ChatGPT, then ask Claude to find errors, missing citations or alternative interpretations, or vice versa. It's a cheap way to reduce what I call confident nonsense, which is when an AI gives you a wrong answer with perfect grammar and total conviction.
Story number 3, and this is important for anyone doing marketing. Publicis, one of the world's largest advertising holding companies, is expanding its partnership with Microsoft to embed agentic AI across their entire marketing workflow. According to Marketing Dive, the deal puts Azure and Copilot deeper into the Publicis stack, covering everything from identifying valuable customer segments to generating creative content, deploying media, and optimizing campaigns. This is not AI helps you write ad copy. This is AI runs parts of the marketing operating system. And it matters, even if you're a 10-person company, because it signals where the entire industry is headed. Your competitors' agencies are going to be using these tools. The question is whether you get there first or play catch-up.
Practical takeaway. If you use a marketing agency or you're building in-house, ask one specific question. What parts of my marketing workflow will be automated end-to-end? And where is the human approval checkpoint? If they can't answer clearly, you might be paying for vibes instead of results. Also, lock down your brand voice guidelines and compliance rules before you automate. The more you automate, the more a small mistake scales. You do not want your AI agent optimizing your paid ads into accidental regulatory problems.
Before we move on, let's do a quick pricing reality check. This comes up constantly in Val's client calls. Should I buy seats or go API? ChatGPT Team is $25 per user per month billed annually, or $30 per user monthly. Enterprise is custom priced. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is $30 per user per month.
Here's the operator's rule of thumb. If your work is mostly ad hoc knowledge tasks, proposals, customer emails, policy drafts, seats are the fastest path. But if you're processing thousands of documents or support tickets, you need an API workflow, because per-seat tools aren't designed for high-volume automation.
And a Gartner forecast to keep in mind, more than 40% of agentic AI initiatives may be abandoned by the end of 2027 due to rising costs, unclear business value, or insufficient risk management. The difference between the successful 60% and the failed 40% is going to come down to 3 things. Can you prove business value? Do you have security in place? And are you managing risk proactively? All right, story number 4. The AI adoption numbers for small businesses are genuinely staggering now. According to Business.com's 2026 AI Outlook report, 57% of U.S. small businesses are investing in AI technology, up from 36% in 2023. 30% of employees at SMBs now use AI daily.
And Forbes is reporting that by the end of 2026, 4 out of 5 small businesses will use AI for marketing specifically. Constant Contact's survey of over 1,500 SMB owners across 5 countries found that 45% are already using AI to analyze trend data, 44% for content creation, and 40% for generating images and visual content.
Here's what catches my eye in that data. 62% of SMBs now have at least partially adopted AI in both customer service and marketing. More than half have implemented AI in product development and innovation, employee training, and operations. Even HR, which was historically a holdout, is at 47% for things like resume screening and onboarding. The trend is using AI to amplify existing teams, not to cut them. Now, story number 5, and this is the one that makes compliance teams sweat. The AI regulation landscape is shifting fast. Let's break it down. The EU AI Act's Phase 2 hits in August 2026. That means new transparency requirements and high-risk AI system rules for anyone operating in Europe. Although the European Parliament did vote in March to potentially push the high-risk deadline to December 2027, the general-purpose AI obligations and AI literacy requirements are already active.
And in the U.S., it's a patchwork. Colorado's AI Act takes effect June 30, 2026, requiring risk management programs, impact assessments, and algorithmic discrimination safeguards. California has new automated decision-making rules with pre-use notices and opt-out mechanisms. Utah's AI consumer protection law is already live.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration released a national AI policy framework in March, recommending federal preemption of state AI laws across 7 pillars: child protection, AI infrastructure, intellectual property, censorship and free speech, enabling innovation, workforce preparation, and state law preemption. They also established an AI litigation task force to challenge state laws they consider onerous.
So what does this mean if you run a small business? First, if you're using AI for any consequential decisions, hiring, lending, insurance, you need to document what you're doing and why. That's table stakes now, regardless of which state you're in.
Second, cyber insurance carriers are now requiring AI-specific security controls, documented adversarial testing, model-level risk assessments, alignment with NIST or ISO frameworks. If you don't have that documentation, you might face coverage limitations or higher premiums. And trust me, you do not want to discover a gap in your coverage after something goes wrong.
Third, the SEC has identified AI-driven threats to data integrity as a 2026 examination priority. So even if you're not in a regulated industry, if you're using AI to process financial data, there's increased scrutiny coming.
The practical move is simple but unglamorous. Create a one-page AI governance document. What tools you use, what data goes in, what decisions they influence, and what needs a human sign-off. It takes an afternoon. It could save you 6 figures.
Story number 6, the infrastructure spending is mind-boggling. Alphabet's CapEx guidance for 2026 is $175 to $185 billion. That's more than double their 2025 spending. Meta signed a $27 billion AI infrastructure deal with Nebius, and their total AI CapEx for 2026 is projected at $115 to $135 billion.
And private equity is getting into classified AI infrastructure. Carlyle and KKR were awarded $2 billion contracts to build hyperscale data centers for the U.S. Army. This isn't theoretical anymore. When the Department of Defense is building AI data centers, the technology is past the experimentation phase.
For SMBs, the implication is the tools are going to get cheaper, faster, and more capable very quickly. All this infrastructure spending translates into better APIs, lower per-token pricing, and more competition for your business. If you've been waiting for the right time to adopt AI, this is it. The economics are only going to improve.
All right, that was a lot. Let's do our What Should I Actually Do This Week segment. 4 concrete moves.
Move 1. Audit your AI stack. Write down every AI tool your team uses, what it costs, and what it does. 57% of SMBs are investing in AI now, which means some of you are probably paying for overlapping tools without realizing it. Consolidate where you can.
Move 2. Pick one workflow and build an agent test. Choose something repeatable with clear inputs and outputs, weekly sales recap, customer inquiry triage, invoice matching. Set it up in a sandbox. Run it for a week. Measure where it fails. You'll learn more from watching it break than from any demo.
Move 3. Create your governance one-pager. List approved tools, approved data types, approval thresholds, and the human checkpoint for each. Then train your team in a 15-minute stand-up. That's literally all it takes to go from we use AI casually to we use AI responsibly. And it puts you ahead of the regulatory curve.
Move 4. Keep an eye on OpenAI's ad platform rollout. If you're spending on Google Ads or Meta Ads, set a reminder to check back in 60 days and see if ChatGPT advertising has launched for your vertical. Early adopters on new ad platforms consistently get better economics.
And a bonus move for the brave. Try the multi-model critique approach. Take something customer-facing, a contract, a proposal, an ad campaign, and run it through 2 different AI systems. First one drafts, second one reviews. It catches errors you wouldn't believe.